Hey everybody, in true style, I'm at the Snowdome and I was thinking about peaks because, you know, my brain does not stop thinking about lasers, and my daughter's going up to the top of the peak. So I thought I'd do a quick video on what the difference is between average power and peak power for your devices. So I think we're all very familiar with looking at the power of a device. So whether you have a 1 watt, 5 watt, 10 watt, 15 watt, 25 watt, 40 watt device, we always look at that and go, oh, my device is a 25 watt device, and so it has the power output of 25 watts. And that's your peak power. So the peak is the highest point that your laser device can go to. However, we always seem to think that that's the most important thing, when actually it's the average output that is most important. So this also links into continuous wave and pulsed as well. So if we have continuous wave, it will hit that peak power, and your peak power will be the same as your average power because it will go up to its top, just like in this example here, and it will keep going for that entire time. It will be at its peak for the entire time. And that's why continuous wave is so effective at delivering high doses in a shorter period of time. And also when we look at radiance, we get high levels of radiance because that peak is much higher. But that's continuous wave. When it comes to our pulsing, and to be fair, even with our, our continuous, the most important thing is actually the average output. And as we know, continuous wave, the peak power is the same as the average. However, when it comes to pulsing, it gets a little bit more complicated, and our average power is the most important point here. So it doesn't matter if your device is pulsing and it says it goes up to 75 watts or something like that. That sounds amazing, and that is its peak power. However, because we are pulsing, just like in this example here, we are 0.33% of the time pulsing. So you can see in the blue, it goes up to its peak power and then it stops and it comes back down, because that's what happens when we're pulsing our devices. So actually, because it's not on continuously, although it has a high peak up to say that 75 watts, it doesn't have an average output of 75 watts because that peak averaged over the time is not 75 watts of power. So it then gets averaged, and we'll go into that in another video of how we work that out. So when we're looking at pulsing devices, super pulsing devices, it is not the peak power that you're interested in, it is actually the pulsing. Because actually, if we look at this example, can any of you tell me what the actual average power is for this device? And I think you'll be really, really surprised. Although it's hitting a high peak, what is the actual average? So see if you can work it out and let me know. And then we'll do another video where we look at working out what the average power actually is. But peak power is the highest point that you can reach with your device. Average power is the most important factor, because that is telling me actually how much power over that period of time am I actually using. So don't be a little kind of into a false sense of security that, yeah, my device peaks at 75 watts, that's the most important thing. Because if you've worked out what this actually is in terms of its power, you'll be quite surprised it's not actually that high.